Hello, Gama. Thanks for having me here again. The house looks great. The installation of the Tyvek, it looks very professional after the training with your guys. Windows, penetrations, roof to wall, the door, which is not yet installed, but you did the Tyvek around the king studs the way it's supposed to. Here you have your Tyvek wrap around your king studs, right? And then you have your water pan nicely installed there. Next step is installing your door, right? Hopefully you look into the VF VersaFlange. It's a three-sided tape. You have your sliders done the right way. So you see your Tyvek wrap around your king studs the way it's supposed to. You can see flashing tape shingle correctly at the head of the slider. Up there you have
your that is a great detail though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So you have your quick flash boots you can see there.
You talk a little bit about that, Luis, about the taping on the OSB.
You have your flashing tape right at the head of the door, and it's shingled under the Tyvek. The next step is taping that flap. What you want to do there, if the vertical leg of the metal flashing is wider than the door flange, then add a second piece of flashing tape for best practice. Bring down your Tyvek flap and tape the Tyvek tape. So this is your slider. Before the flashing tape, right, have your sealant. So the next step is doing your flashing tape on all three sides. And then your metal flashing, the drip cap, right? If that leg is higher than your flange, do an extra piece of flashing tape for best practice, and then bring down your flap, tape it. That's all you need for your
I guess that would be good feedback for our corners guy, that this should actually, this Tyvek that you have up there, that should actually be a little bit looser. That way you can lift it up.
All we require is just 2 inches of an overlap over the flashing tape, and it looks like you're using 6 inch. So you will have like 3 or 4 inches of an overlap, more than enough. The reason we cut that flap a little higher, here's directly to the OSB.
So the tape basically is going to act as kind of like the connect both points, right?
Correct.
That way water still flows down.
Yes. Basically, it will waterproof around your window or door. You have your 2 sides and the head. That's what quick flash requires. You just make sure they cut the slit and slide it into the Tyvek. I think they did that. It looks like they did it. That's one method. There's more than one method to do it. That's the easiest one.
Anything underneath like this, kind of like, you know how the
right here at the bottom?
Any tips on that? Or
yeah, so
gravity.
A lot of builders or commercial builders or multifamily builders treat for air. Codes are pushing that way. Eventually it's gonna happen, which means you will have to seal all your Tyvek or waterproofing products for air. Yeah, for air requirements. We're not there yet, but it's getting there. You can still leave it open. If we want to treat for air, then you sacrifice a lot of things. But eventually it's gonna have to happen. It's just gonna take more observations.
On the hierarchy of things, what's important? Air or water? I think for almost, it should be, at least I would argue, that water is number one. Treat water, prevent from it, and everything else will take care of itself.
It's not like you're not meeting the code. You're treating for air from the inside. All the sealants, that's still, it counts as treating for air. Doing it on the outside with Tyvek, it's possible, but it's not required as long as you're treating for air. I know you're treating for air from the inside. That's kind of what's happening.
It's a big thing going on in construction, especially with custom homes. A lot of people are more worried about that, but we got to worry about the water too. That's what keeps me up. One of our sins here in the corner, I don't know if you noticed it yet, some OSB exposed here. It could be worse, but the tape we put there, it should mitigate. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so you have OSB exposed here.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about the OSB here because you will have a flashing tape. I am worried about the caps though. We don't want any caps behind the flashing tape.
Okay. These caps probably should be out a little bit further.
Away from the flashing tape.
Because if your tape is 6 inches, you want to be 7 inches away from that corner.
Yes.
Now that I think about it, part of the wrapping around too is also to hold some of that tension.
That's right. You're protecting your wall and rough opening with the Tyvek wrapping around the king studs, and plus you will have your flashing tape.
So I got here Luis. So he's been talking about the Tyvek with us for a few years, but really the last couple months we've been very intentional. And one thing that I was showing Luis, I got on camera, is we started putting this QR code whenever we're doing the Tyvek wrap. This QR code takes you to a YouTube link of a video that you and I did that talks a lot for about 30 minutes about this product.
Absolutely. You're standing behind the installation of your products. That's for sure a differentiation from other builders. We appreciate that, and thank you for having us. It's a good thing.
Science behind it, it works well. We don't mind using it. One of the things you were saying, this garage looks pretty good. What you're seeing here that makes it good?
So the first thing I see, you wrapping your Tyvek around your king studs. That's the first thing I observe. The other thing I see that all your seams are taped. I see the kickout flashing at the door head properly integrated to the Tyvek. And it's shingle under the Tyvek where it's supposed to be. There's no caps under your Tyvek tape. And then I see your quick flash boot over there correctly, sides and head. In general, it's a good installation.
When you say that around the king stud, notice how this Tyvek is coming around. Most people, I see people do it, just cut it right here.
Right.
There's a big gap there now where air, water, all these things come.
Exactly.
The corners guy is doing, shout out to the framer and the corners guy, Arturo, who's helping us out. He actually wraps it around. So see how it's wrapped around? That's what Luis was saying. So all of this is creating a good seal, a good barrier for preventing water. But one thing that I learned too while talking to you on the side was it also helps with tension. So now that it's wrapping around, it's basically hugging the whole wall as opposed to not wrapping it or cutting it early. It's not wrapped around the wall, so only the tensions are going to be on the nails. But here you add an extra element of it.
Exactly.
So it makes it a little bit more sturdy.
Yeah, you're protecting your rope opening on the garage door by doing that on the sides and having metal flashing at the head. The chances of getting any water around that rope opening are small.
With the finished hardy and the caulking and or stucco, whatever we're doing, that's going to be sufficient.
Yes, this is a treated piece of wood. It will last forever. What we're worried about is your wood. It's not treated. Your king studs and your header.
Everything underneath the paper. And then you mentioned our Tyvek tape. There's some thinking that goes into installing it where the crews, if you continue going, if you overlap it, your seam ends up being a little bit more over here. And now you can do a bigger piece of paper. And so you'll have less seams.
For sure, that helps a lot. The less seams, the less chances to get water behind that Tyvek. But even though it's best to run a whole piece of Tyvek instead of having a bunch of seams, you're right. I have seen both ways. I mean, if you do small sections, I mean, you will add more work for the guys too, you know what I mean? They'll have to take more seams, more overlaps. So there's more work involved in comparison to doing the full roll and having less seams.
That's a general principle of building, right? Yeah. Sometimes if we spend a little more time thinking about how to do it, we spend less time, errors and stuff like that. But many times in construction, a lot of people just, hey, let's get in and get out, which seems like it'll be faster, but it ends up being more time. You got to come back and fix it or have a bigger issue down the road.
Yeah, sure. There is very easy to add more time for sure. No, I think the amount of seams and overlaps here are very minimum. It looks like your guy did a great job rolling that Tyvek around your house. I don't see any fasteners behind the Tyvek tape.
Yeah, I'm very proud of those guys. Those guys are really stepping up to it because that's one of the easiest, probably the most common thing I see is people actually using staples, not using the caps.
Yeah, now I see more caps.
So more caps is good. If you're just walking around and don't see the caps, then there's probably an issue. So another product we've been using to try to waterproof is Quick Flash. Can you tell us more about that and why we should install this first?
Every boot has a label. It'll tell you what it is, what penetration it will treat. To install it, there is more than one method. You can install it directly to the OSB behind the Tyvek. That's one method. The other method is cutting a slit. You cut a slit, shingle boot, flash, both sides and the head. There is another one where you can cut a flap on the windows, shingle your boot, and flash the sides and the head, but you still have to tape the flap over it. It requires flashing tape. Personally, I think this is the easiest method because you don't have to add more tape as long as your boot is shingled to the Tyvek. But I think it's a very good installation because the head flashing is past your side flashing.
Yeah, these side flashing always get installed before the head flashing. Right?
Sides and head.
You can't do it the other way because then you create a
reverse shingle. We always make sure it's shingled correctly and overlap. This side cannot be past your head flashing tape either. Otherwise, you create more chances to get water through those little holes.
That's why it's important to always roll it, make sure it's
apply for pressure.
When we use a flashing tape, there's only 2 tape, which is really good. They're versatile. The flashing tape, the 6 inches, you can use it here. You can use it for your seals. Like it's very versatile. Even for like, I guess you could use the flex as well for like waterproofing penetration.
You can use it around penetrations. If it's a round pipe or a wire, you can use flex wrap. There's more than one method. You can do one piece around the wire or pipe or electrical box, or you can do 2 pieces, one at the bottom and one at the top. Both ways are warranted by DuPont.
Well, any last thoughts on flashing tape or just flashing in general?
Trim pressure, that's what we ask for. And that way, I mean, the tape does what it's supposed to be doing.
Hey, Luis, thanks for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Definitely have to meet up again. And
yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Some more education.
All right. Thank you, Gama.
All right, see you, bud.
All right.